Hi guys, the end is upon us as far as the AFCON is concerned. There have been high quality matches in this AFCON. I think for all the AFCONs I've watched, of all the lot, this has been the very best. The level of tactical detail has been exceptional. The way teams applied themselves, even physically, has been immense. Mentally, you saw that they were in the right place. And I think when you look at it in summation, you would say that everyone deserves to be where they are, where the Ivory Coast could have got a lucky escape to get through as the third best placed team, but then beyond that, they've applied themselves superbly, and it's not been a matter of luck, but purely about how they've applied themselves, both in footballing and non-footballing terms. I thought we could basically just look at the themes that have been observed from this AFCON. First, what comes to mind is the presence of the rest attack. What you saw is that whenever teams were defending, I think they still left a considerably good portion of players up front, or a structure that enabled them to go forward. One of those teams that did exceptionally well in that area is Angola. Example could be the goal that they scored against Namibia, the Mapululu goal, which was excellent. So they were defending. Namibia were on a break. They were defending. They win the ball back. Then Freddie plays the long ball forward, and then you saw them go to get a goal. There were a few other times when teams did that. Yes, it may not have ended in goals, but then the fact that it was an ever-present theme in most matches tells us that that is the direction that our teams are taking to. You'd also talk about the rest defense, which many teams did. This time around, you did not really see a lot of goals scored from counter attacks, simply because when teams attacked, they left a good structure in behind. In the previous AFCON, what you saw mostly was that there was a presence of disruptive play whenever a team suffered a negative transition. This time around, you didn't really see it much, but what you saw was the presence of rest defense, and I think that's how you didn't see a lot of counter attack goals. Yes, there were a lot of quick breaks, but then counter attack goals, not really, because of the structure that teams left in behind. You also saw a lot of pressing schemes. So what that would mean basically is that you try and force the team that has the ball to pretty much think that they can play it from the back. So basically you are setting a pressing trap, if you like. We saw a lot of that mostly in the matches which involved Nigeria. I think you saw Osimhen pushing from up top, and I think it was as a result of pressing schemes. Now the way pressing schemes work is that whenever someone goes in, for example, to go and press in, right behind there should be a good structure, so that even if that one is breached, then there's a structure right behind. And that's why we keep saying that a player cannot press on their own, but it has to be the collective unit. And I think Nigeria did that fairly well up to the last match that we watched them play in the semi-final. You also saw what I would want to call as pressing units. You saw this a lot with Senegal. So what happened with Senegal is that you would have one or two players going for the press, then right behind them there's a very good block, such that it was always hard to find that penetrative pass against Senegal. And you may wish to remember that the only two instances where they did not really do that is where they suffered. That was against the Ivory Coast. The goal that the Ivory Coast scored, the equalizer in that second round match. There was basically, yes, there was an immediate press on the ball, but then right behind, at that very moment, that that block behind was not there, and that's how the ball went through to the striker, and they managed to get the goal. So that has been Senegal's strength. But then the moment they kind of relaxed a bit on that, they got punished, and that's what happens at the top level of football. On the other side, something that you would want to look at, you saw a bit of relational play actually in the South African team. So you may have observed, so relational play is basically in the most basic of terms. So you have these units in which players play, maybe this player A and player X, player A and player B. You find them in these same spaces and all that. And so you saw that a bit with South Africa. Mostly you see that wherever Pesitao was, very close to him was Temba Zwane, and also close to there was Teboho Mokoena, which basically meant they always made that triangle. So the idea was, Tau would play basically to Zwane or the other way around, but then in case there's a loss of position there, then Mokoena will come in and provide the steal that you needed right behind him. We saw that a lot with the South African team, even through to the match that they played against Nigeria. It's a bit of what you see mostly at Sundowns, and I think going forward we may see a lot of relational play even in our game, especially with players whom we know that their skills will combine effectively with each other. I think it becomes a very useful tool to look at. Also, I think we cannot ignore the impact of the substitutes at this tournament. From the time the Ivory Coast got into the round of 16 under Immense Fire, I think they've been able to do exceptionally well as far as the substitutes are concerned. And look, we've always said that you sometimes win matches from the bench, and I think the Ivory Coast are a clear example of that. In the match against Senegal, Frank Kesse came in and made an exceptional impact in that match. In the following match, you remember Adingra came in and did exceptionally well. You would talk about Nicolas Pepe as well when he came on that should have been in the quarterfinal. You saw the impact that he brought, and so the Ivory Coast gave us a reminder that with the right substitutes you're able to impact a match positively. Elsewhere, I think we cannot ignore the kind of mentality that teams went into this AFCON with. Generally, from the group stages through to the end, I think we didn't really see teams give a lot of respect to the opposition as far as how big they were in terms of the names they had and maybe the pedigree that they have. So teams went in this tournament with the right mentality that anyone could beat anyone, and surely from the way the tournament panned out, you will see that teams went really in prepared, and they had the belief that it was possible to do certain things, and that's how teams like Cape Verde were able to do what they did. You talk about Bafana. Mauritania may not really have been the best, but they managed to get into the second round chiefly because of having the right mentality. The DRC as well would come to mind. So overall, teams went in well as far as the mentality is concerned. And finally, the impact of the analysts. Look, it's a song that we've sung for years now. When you look at how teams played, even the teams that played against Zambia, for example, you saw that they were really prepared for us. They hardly gave a chance to Indaka, for example. They pressed us so in midfield, having realized that you would never expect Govin Kapumbu to play on the turn. They pressed him so much. We got punished from that. Our players basically couldn't play because I think the opposition did a very great job on us, and the same could be said about the other matches for other teams. Look at South Africa, how they prepared for the opposition, and there were some times that you would tell that impact of analysis, how teams were very adaptive in terms of who they faced. So today we would see they will pitch up in a 4-3-3, then the other day they are going to switch it up. Today they will pitch up in a 3-5-2, then the other day they are going to switch it up. Look at Nigeria, for example, against South Africa, they turned up in a 4-3-3. When throughout the tournament, I think, with the exception of the first game, they had turned up with a 3-5-2 or 3-4-3, if you like. South Africa themselves had played the 4-3-3 or a good variant sort of a 4-4-2. But then in the match against Nigeria, they switched it up, came with a back 5 or 3 at the back, then 4 across the middle. That basically shows that they've studied the opposition and they know how best they want to play against the opposition. Talk about the penalty saves. We heard of how Ron Williams said that he had a lot of information from the analysts in terms of how to go about those penalty saves. The same could be said about Nigeria. I think you would see that they did their homework against South Africa in terms of how they took their penalties against South Africa. It was either they went through the middle or at a height which was not really comfortable for the goalkeeper. And so overall, I thought those were the themes from the AFCON. A few matters of tactical detail that we could look at just in the most basic of terms. And overall, it's been an exceptional tournament, fantastic football all around, and we look forward to the next edition, which, by the way, should be played next year. Until then, bye-bye.